There is so much going on in the beauty world and outside of it too, that it's almost impossible to keep up with everything that's happening right now. From fiberglass and face masks and skincare founders making pretty outrageous claims to product recalls and major beauty retailers going out of business. These are all recent stories in the beauty space that you might have missed, given everything else going on in the world at the moment. So in today's ugly news, we're going to find out why Rhode keeps having the same issues with their products over and over again, why you can't trust everyone who just happens to be a doctor, and why some beauty businesses are struggling to stay afloat these days. Okay, let's start off with Rhode and a story that might sound familiar, their allegedly contaminated products. In case you hadn't heard, Rhode launched their first ever face mask back in February of 2026. They described their new caffeine reset sculpting cream as a cup of coffee for your face, adding that it depuffs and provides a stimulating effect, leaving you looking lifted, less puffy, and more awake in minutes. One thing I just want to add randomly, since the e.l.f. acquisition, we've seen eye patches and a lifting caffeine mask. I'm a little bit worried about the direction Rhode are going in, but we'll see. We'll see how it plays out. Rhode were obviously hoping that launching their first product of this kind would create a lot of hype and get people talking about it. And people are like definitely talking about it, just maybe not exactly in the way Rhode had hoped. That's because shortly after the mask launched, videos began appearing on TikTok and other platforms with users claiming that they'd found what looked like tiny fibers of thin crystals mixed in with the product. Some were saying it looked like fiberglass, it kind of did, shards of plastic, or even pieces of glass. Of course, it's the internet, so everybody kind of like presumed the worst and went a little bit crazy. Unsurprisingly, this led to search terms like Rhode caffeine mask fiberglass and Rhode mask crystals trending online, mainly on TikTok. And some people wondered if the mask might actually contain some sort of like physical exfoliant that hadn't been clearly described, whilst others were just worried that the particles could be irritating or unsafe to put on the skin. A few viral videos even showed people pulling out strands of the cream with tweezers to try and figure out what they were. But other users also started offering a much less dramatic explanation than the products containing fiberglass or anything else that could be dangerous. Instead, they said that what people were seeing was likely just ingredients in the formula crystallizing due to the cold weather. And they actually pointed out that many of the people experiencing these issues seemed to be in places like New York or other areas who were at the time experiencing cold temperatures. Like, it was all over the news, it was all over TikTok, like New York was frozen over, and the two most viral videos come from people who just so happen to live in New York. So when products freeze or partially freeze, ingredients like fatty alcohol, waxes, and others can sometimes form like thin crystal looking structures that kind of look like fiberglass or shards. This can easily happen during shipping or storage, especially during winter months. And although it can sometimes affect the quality or efficacy of the product, that isn't always the case. In the product FAQ section for Rhode's Caffeine Reset, they actually say we recommend storing it at room temperature as it can occasionally form white particles at freezing temperatures. The mask has undergone freeze-thaw testing, so we can ensure that the particles do not affect performance and that it's still safe to use. And I'm not sure if they added that recommendation in after as a response to all of this, or if it was already on there. I don't know. And to be fair, many people who've experienced this issue with the caffeine reset mask have said that the shards or crystals have disappeared or melted back into the formula when the weather warmed up or when they heated up a little bit. But others have said that they've had the products at room temperature in their house for days and the shards are still there, or that they've tried rubbing the cream in their hands, like before applying it to the face, and the shards don't disappear. Obviously, this isn't the first time Rhode has had issues with products changing texture due to temperature. You may remember the issues with the grainy lip treatments that apparently need to be boiled, but recently I've seen people boiling the Rhode phone cases because they've lost shape and don't fit in the person's phone anymore. And people are already making fun of the brand for these issues way before this happened, but this latest problem has created another wave of people mocking Rhode for the issues some of their products have. Comments from users on TikTok, Instagram, and Reddit include things like, if they say put it in warm water like the lippies, I'm going to freak out. Do all their products require boiling? I love Rhode, but there's always an issue with their products. Now, I don't know exactly why this whole products changing texture and cold temperature seems to become an issue for Rhode. A lot of brands have the same like formulation or very similar formula, and we don't see them freezing over. It might just be that they're one of the most talked about beauty brands online, so anytime something does happen or something goes wrong, we hear about it more. I talk about it, it's talked about a lot more. Though it could also have something to do with the types of ingredients Rhode likes to use. I've spoken before about how shea butter solidifying was likely to blame for the grainy lip treatments everyone's heard about before they reformulated. But another reason why Rhode in particular might have an issue with this more often than a lot of other brands could actually be down to the peptides. And I know peptides are popular in a lot of skincare products these days, but they've also kind of become synonymous, I guess you could say, with Rhode, like that's their thing to some extent. And they seem to have peptides in pretty much every product. And what a lot of people might not know is that peptides are one of the ingredients that can crystallize and form shards or graininess when temperatures drop. So maybe that has something to do with why it seems to a lot of people that Rhode has more problems with products changing texture than any other brand seem to. Maybe it's just because they got a higher profile and get talked about more, or maybe there's another reason. Maybe it's all the above. Let me know what you think in the comments. I think people are getting bored of having to keep their Rhode products warm or at boiling point. In all fairness, Rhode's new mask probably isn't actually a danger to anyone's skin or health. Unfortunately, the same can't be said for the next story, which I want to talk about, which involves one of my least favorite people in skincare and in general, Dr. Barbara Sturm. Foot doctor Dr. Barbara Sturm recently did an interview with the Wall Street Journal in which she managed to piss off basically every dermatologist and skincare literate person that read or saw the post about the article on Instagram. So what did she say exactly to get people so riled up? Well, the first thing people have an issue with came when the interviewer asked her if there was a specific product or ingredient she didn't think people should use. Her answer was retinol, one of the only proven ingredients to actually make a change to your skin. She said, people use it as an anti-aging ingredient, but retinol strips down your microbiome, causes inflammation, and makes your skin thinner. If you use retinol, you shouldn't be out in daylight or at a computer or in pollution. We'll get to the issues with that claim in a moment, but things actually got worse, believe it or not. In response to Dr. Sturm saying you shouldn't be in daylight if you use retinol, the interviewer then asked her, what if I'm wearing a big sun hat and sunscreen? To which Dr. Sturm responded, can I say something about this? No, you fucking can't. The big hat's the 24-hour sunscreen. You are excluding yourself from the sun. You need daylight, girl. Go in the morning sun when there's low UV and get early morning light. I'm not saying don't use sunscreen. I wear sunscreen when I go skiing, when I'm on top of a mountain. But you want your skin to be a super strong organ. It's already a super strong organ. This obviously didn't go down well with dermatologists, cosmetic chemists, or cancer specialists who didn't appreciate Dr. Sturm suggesting that people are too afraid of the sun and shouldn't rely on sunscreen, or that you should actually expose your skin to the sun on purpose to somehow make it stronger. So many derms pointed out that Dr. Barbara Sturm is completely wrong in her claim that retinol makes your skin thinner. In fact, it does the opposite. Retinol was actually proven to boost production of collagen and increase skin thickness, strengthening your skin rather than weakening it. I feel like that's skincare 101. I feel like we all know that. I could see why a foot doctor wouldn't know that. But when they have a skincare line, you think they would, right? They also pointed out that letting your skin be damaged by the sun isn't going to make it stronger in any way. Sun exposure literally thins your skin. The more photo damage you have from being in the sun, unprotected, obviously the more collagen you're going to lose and more elastin, making your skin thinner. Many dermatologists agree that sun damage is the single biggest cause of skin aging, and or that's without even getting into the increased risk of skin cancer from sun exposure. Again, all basics that a doctor or somebody who has a skincare brand should really know. Dr. Sturm literally hasn't got a fucking clue what she's talking about. She's just cosplaying as a skincare expert. She likes to lean on her doctor credentials, convince people that she can be trusted, but the woman is an orthopedist, which means she deals with muscles, bones, joints, tendons, that sort of thing. Impressive still, don't get me wrong, but taking skincare advice from her is like asking a dermatologist how to fix a broken bone. Like they specialize in something completely different. Who is she? This shouldn't come as a shock to anyone who's aware of Sturm's particular brand of science. However, this is after all the same woman who invented the vampire facial, a procedure with little scientific evidence that it actually works, though that obviously doesn't stop Sturm from charging people well over $1,000 to perform the treatment. And also actually a lot of people in the comments for this Wall Street Journal post noticed how convenient it was that Dr. Sturm also added that the only skincare products you really need are a face cream and hyaluronic acid, which works out well for her because she sells a very basic face cream for $240 and an even more basic hyaluronic acid serum for $325. Isn't that convenient? What luck that they're the only two skincare products you really need. So it's probably not surprising that quite a lot of people think Dr. Barbara Sturm is a scammer or a hack. And to be honest, when she keeps making ridiculous claims like the ones in this interview and tries to sue everybody that disagrees with her, allegedly, it's hard to argue against those labels. Speaking of sunscreen, actually sun damage and why you need to use sunscreen if you want healthy skin, that brings us on to the next story I want to discuss. Because on February the 21st of 2026, popular SPF skincare brand Hello Sunday recalled one of their products. I love Hello Sunday. I know in the midst of a recall isn't probably the best time to promote them, but I love their sunscreens. They're very basic. They do the job they're gonna do, but they come in all forms. They have lip balm, hand cream, primer. They're good basic sunscreens. Maybe not the one I'm about to talk about though. The recall was in relation to the One for Your Eyes Mineral Eye Cream SPF 50. And it was apparently done voluntarily by the brand as there were concerns it could present a risk to health as it may not actually provide adequate protection. I think a few of us saw that coming. I don't think a lot of us are surprised nowadays that an SPF is being recalled in light of certain revelations, let's say. These concerns were raised, of course, after new testing showed that the product failed to meet the stated level, of SPF. Specific details about how much the product failed by haven't been released yet, but in a statement about the recall, Hello Sunday said, "At Hello Sunday, we treat our customers' confidence in the efficacy of our products extremely seriously. This is why, in light of recent multiple recalls across the industry resulting from recent testing discrepancies, we made the proactive decision to retest our product range to ensure full confidence in the protection our products provide. Initial testing for the One for Your Eyes Mineral Eye Cream SPF 50 confirmed that the product met the labeled SPF 50 UVB protection, but recent test results showed that it failed to meet the level of SPF stated on the product label. Apparently, all batches of the product sold between December 2025 and February 2026 were affected, and anyone using the product is advised to stop immediately and return it to the place you bought it from." Now, as Hello Sunday mentioned, this has come about after testing discrepancies were discovered by Choice, a consumer watchdog in Australia, who tested 20 sunscreen products from various brands and found that 16 of them failed to provide the level of sun protection advertised on the label. The revelation was a pretty dramatic moment for the sunscreen industry. I don't think we've seen such a controversy since the Korean sunscreen scandal, with Australian brand Ultraviolet actually being one of the worst affected brands as a result of the news. If you wanted to hear more about Choice's testing and the damage it did to Ultraviolet's brand, I've covered it in this video here. The worst beauty scandals of 2025 with updates, as well as this deep dive into Ultraviolet's history. What the fuck is going on with Ultraviolet? But basically, this controversy caused so many of the other brands to retest their own products, as a lot of them use the same base formula or the same testing labs. And as we've seen here, more and more brands are finding out that some of their products have also been affected by the issue. This definitely isn't something that's only affecting Hello Sunday though. It's a lot of people, but it's not a good time for any brand to be going through product recalls and controversies that eat away at consumer trust. The rising cost of living and constantly increasing competition means that customers are being much pickier about where they spend their money. And if some of these sunscreen brands aren't careful, they could end up in the same place as the next brand I want to talk about today. Beauty Bay is a major online beauty retailer, and if you've been into makeup or skincare over the last decade or so, then there's a good chance you've bought something from Beauty Bay. Anything that they sell, all the brands they sell, all the unique indie brands, the viral brands, they sold everything. They sell over 200 brands, as well as their own products under the By Beauty Bay label. People all over the world are huge fans of the retailer and use it to discover new brands they've never tried before. So it did come as quite a shock to a lot of Beauty Bay fans when they tried to access the Beauty Bay website on February the 18th of 2026, only to find the website had closed. You couldn't browse new products or buy anything. It was all just replaced with a simple message saying, "We'll be back soon. Beauty Bay is offline right now. We'll be back shortly." On the same day, it came out that the brand had filed a notice of intention to appoint administrators. It's not a good thing. It basically means that the company is about to collapse and is desperately trying to avoid that. It also meant that they would have just 10 business days to find a new investor or someone who was willing to buy the company. Otherwise, their creditors would be able to swoop in and start legal action against them. In a statement, Beauty Bay said, "Like many other companies operating across the retail space, we've been battling hard in the face of strong headwinds over the past 12 months. Cost of inflation and fragile customer confidence confidence have had a heavy impact on consumer spending. Over recent weeks, we've been working closely with our stakeholders to find a path forward, including exploring operations for sale and investment, with the aim of putting in place a stable financial platform upon which we can continue to build. Unfortunately, Beauty Bay's founders Aaron and David Gabby were unable to find a solution to their problems, even after getting an extension on the 10 days protection they'd had while negotiations continued. Ultimately, the company went into administration on March 6th, 2026, and the administrators immediately sold the business in what's called a pre-pack deal to AA Investments Group, a French company that specializes in the luxury e-commerce and beauty sectors. So that sounds like a good fit to me. And whilst that is a shame for the founders who have basically lost their company, it's good news for the rest of the employees and for the fans of the retailer. A pre-pack deal basically means the sale of the company is arranged before the administration process begins, allowing the business to continue operating under new ownership with as little disruption as possible. It meant that 62 of Beauty Bay's 65 employees kept their jobs, and hopefully the business will be back up and running soon. The message on the website has already been changed to say it's official, Beauty Bay is reopening soon, stay tuned. An exact date hasn't been posted yet, but at least we know it's coming, which will be a relief to fans of Beauty Bay all over the world. That doesn't mean, however, that the struggle is over for Beauty Bay yet. They may have avoided closing down altogether, but the pressures that led to this are still there. The rising costs, the cautious consumers, and intense competition from retailers like Sephora, Space NK, Cult Beauty, and Boots. None of this has changed. What I will say, for me personally, when I've shared my qualms, let's say, about Beauty Bay online, people agreed. I haven't ordered from Beauty Bay for about 2 years because I never get my packages. Never. And then it's such an ordeal to get a refund. So I just stopped buying from them. I just quit altogether because I cannot trust that website at all to ship anything. So maybe that had a part to play in it too, that people just weren't getting their packages and they didn't buy from them anymore. It surprised me that they said they've just been impacted in the past 12 months because it feels like a really long time. But anyway, that's all the ugly beauty stories I have for you today. Let me know if you enjoyed this kind of roundup and if you want to see something like this again. These are mainly videos I can't make into a long form video, so do let me know in the comments down below. But more importantly, let me know what you think of the stories you've heard today. Do you think people will ever stop making fun of Rhode for having to boil their products all the time? Are you going to stop wearing sunscreen unless you're like skiing or on a mountain? Please don't. Please wear sunscreen all the time. And are you worried about the testing controversies that seem to be all over sunscreen at the moment? Especially with the summer months coming up, it's kind of terrifying, like what's actually going to protect us when the UV index is at its peak. And do you think Beauty Bay can make a comeback despite the pressures they're facing? Even though I don't buy from them, I am kind of hopeful. And this might have been some good press for them. Let me know what you think, and I'll see you next time.